this is VBS Office, and today I will be showing you how to send an email using NodeJs. Let's get to it. So the first thing that we're going to do is pull up Visual Studio Code, and we want to create a new project, so let's go do that. Just gonna call mine YouTube sending email in Node.js. Alright, so now that that is created, the first file that we're going to want to make is an index.js file. Okay. So now I'm just gonna maximize my window, and we're gonna want to install a couple of things. So we're gonna use npm, which is Node.js's package manager. So the first thing that we're gonna need is express, and it'll create a package.json for you, so don't need to worry about that. And then the next thing we're going to need is NodeMailer, which is the tool for actually sending the email. Okay, so as you can see in our package.json, which is created for us, we have Express and NodeMailer. Okay, so now in our index.js file, we're gonna load all of these in, and we're gonna actually load in some new ones that were included with Node.js, so there's no extra installation needed. So we're gonna go var express equals require express. Okay, so then the next thing we're gonna need is HTTP, which I think is included, and if it's not, just go try running npm install HTTP, and I'm pretty sure it's included. So require HTTP. Okay, and then the next thing we're gonna need is path, which I'm definitely certain that this is included. Require path. And then the last thing that we're going to need is NodeMailer. Okay, so now we're going to run this to check for any errors. It doesn't want to close. Okay. Perfect. If it goes back to the prompt, then there are no errors and it is successful. So now we can start creating our app. So we're gonna go var app equals express, and this is gonna create a basic express app for us, which will let us connect it. And to connect it, we're gonna have to create a HTTP server, which can be done using var server equals HTTP dot server, like this, and then we're gonna pass an app like that. Okay, so then we're gonna have to specify a port, and I'm gonna use port 500. Okay, so now we're going to set the express port to the port variable. So we're gonna go app.set port to port. Okay, and then we're going to have to over here, we're gonna do app dot use express.json. Okay, and then we're going to have another app.use express.url encoded, and then pass in some JSON, which has extended true. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to have to set where all of our static is, which we're going to make later. So let's go app.use. We're going to put it in a path, in a directory called static. So what we want to do is we're going to have to use the path library to link it to our path, which is going to find the directory for our path. So what we can do is we can go app.use and then express.static. Static. Okay. And in here we're going to pass and path.join. And the reason why we're using this is because this knows how to join path strings. So we're going to use this library. And then we're going to pass in 2 underscores and then dir name, comma, and then static. So this is where our static is going to be. Okay, so now we can set our routing for our app, which obviously tells like what HTML pages go where, what requests are coming in, and what do you do with them. So that's what routing is. We're just going to set our routing. Well, it's basically what routing is. It's actually a bit more complicated, but that's basically what it is. So our routing for number 1 is going to be app.get, because this is going to be the one you enter in the URL bar, because we're making a GET request to this when you enter it into the URL bar. So you're going to use app.get / and then we want to pass a callback, which is going to be function, request, and response. Okay, so what we're going to do over here is we're going to go response.sendFile, okay, path.join, okay, and then dir name and static, but this time we're going to go /index.html. Okay, so basically this means when they try to go to /, it's going to send them static HTML, the index HTML files. So let's make that. We're going to make a folder called static and a file that is obviously going to be called index.html. Okay, so what we're going to let's create this file. So we're going to create a basic HTML page with a title called emailer, and then down in the body, this is just going to be a form. So form action, and then this is where the form is going to lead to when you submit it. So we're going to go /send email, because that's where it's going to go to, and we'll set that in the routing later. And then we'll go method post. So then this basically means that the form values are going to be hidden when it goes through, instead of like showing the URL bar. And also because the page that we're going to do, it's going to make a post request, so we're going to have to use NodeJS's post API for routing, but we'll get to that later. So we're going to do method post, and then in this form we're going to make a couple of fields. I would usually use labels, but this will work for now. So we're going to make a from box. It's going to be an email name from. Okay, and then ID from. Not from. Okay. So now we're going to add a line break, and we're going to set the 2, which is basically the exact same thing. So I'm just going to copy and paste. Okay. So we're going to have to change these to 2. Okay. And then we're gonna have a subject. Okay, like this. But the subject is gonna have an input type text. Name subject. And ID is subject. Okay. Okay. And then we're gonna obviously have our message. So we're gonna go message. And then we want to have a new line like input. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna put a line break over here, and we're gonna create this as a text area instead of an input. So we'll go like this. Okay. And then our ID is going to be message. So I'll set that. And then the name is also going to be message. Perfect. So now we're going to have, oh, I forgot something. These should be 2 line breaks instead of 1. Okay. And then we're going to have a submit button. So we're going to go input type submit. And the value is going to be send. So that's what the button is going to say. Okay. So we're done with that. Let's go back to our index.js file. And we could test this in a minute. We just need to set up finish setting up the web server. So what we need to do is we need to use Express. We're gonna use the HTTP server, and we're gonna tell it to start listening on the port, give us a little message, and then clear the console. So that's what we're gonna do. So let's go initialize web server. Okay. And then we're gonna call server dot listen on the port function. And we're just gonna say in the console, so we're gonna go console.log starting server on port, and we're gonna add the port. Perfect. So then we're just gonna clear the console of any junk. Console.clear. Okay, so that is a basic Express web server setup. Let's go try this. So we're gonna open this up, and there we go. We have our form. So let's just put some random stuff. And as you can tell, since we used email, it's gonna do some validation for us. So let's do this. And of course it's gonna say can't post send email because we haven't added that in our routing yet. So let's go back to doing that. So in our index.js, we're gonna put a second thing under routing that is gonna have app.post. Oh, I don't know why it said SMTP protocol, but app.post, because now this is making a post request, and it's going to send email because that's what the form links to. Okay, so let's pass in request and then response. Okay, and then what we're going to do here is we're going to capture the field. So we're going to go from equals request.body.from and 2 equals request.body.2. Oh, oops, 2. And then we're going to subject equals request.body.subject. Okay. And then finally, we are going to have the message equals request.body.message. Lovely. So we're going to set up our transporter for the node mailer. So let's make that transporter. And you could use any email client you want, like Hotmail or something, but I'm going to use Gmail because that's what I use. So we're going to go transporter equals node mailer dot create transport. And then we're just going to pass in some JSON, which is going to hold the data. So we're going to say service, and you can actually look up the official documentation for Outlook and Hotmail and stuff like that. But we're just going to, I'm going to show you how to use Gmail here. Okay. And then off is going to be user, and then your email. Okay. And then for the password, if you're using Gmail, there are a couple extra steps that you can do. So we're gonna open up our email account, and we're going to pull open our Google account homepage. And what we need to do is, first things first, there's an option that you can do, which is turning on less secure app access. But I'm not sure that still exists. What I prefer to do is, because that's going away in this year at some point. I think it's already gone actually. First we need to turn on two-step verification. So you can see I already have two-step verification on. So we're gonna create an app password instead, and we're just gonna enter our password. Okay, and as you can see, I already have one, but let's just create another one. YouTube NodeJs emailing tutorial. Okay, tutorial. Okay, so it's gonna give you an app password, and what we can do is we can paste that into the passcode field. Perfect. So now we do not need this anymore. So we're gonna close that, and we're done with our transporter. So next thing that we want to do is set the email options that we're going to use for our email. So we're going to go var mail options equals, and then JSON, and for the from, we're going to use from, and for the to, we're going to use to, and for the subject, we're going to use subject. And I don't actually think that the from even matters, because it's going to use your Gmail, your transporter as the from. So it doesn't really matter, but I think it might show in the parameters, so maybe it's important, but I don't really think so. Okay, so, and then we're going to, for our text, we're going to use message. Okay. So, now we have our mail options. The last thing we need to do is to send it. So we're gonna say transporter dot send mail options function, which is gonna be our callback error info. Okay, so then we're gonna check if there's an error. If there is, then we're gonna log it to the console. And then otherwise, we're going to console.log email sent, and then we're gonna pass in info. info dot response. Okay, so now that we sent it, the last thing we need to do is that when they click on it, it's going to refresh the page. And since it's going to link them to this post thing, they're just going to be greeted with a blank page. Actually, no, they're going to be greeted with a page that says can get, because we're using app.post instead of app.get. So it's going to give us a little error in the client. But so what we want to do to make it look a bit nicer is to redirect to the home page. So let's do that. Response.redirect /. Okay, so that should be it. Let's restart our server and see if this works. Yeah, we're gonna go home. So set a couple of stuff. We're actually, yeah, sure. And then the subject is gonna be hi, test for YouTube video. Send. And as you can see, it redirected us back. So the email should be sent, so let's go check the email. There we go, Theo Project 123, test for YouTube video. There you go. So yeah, looks like it worked. So that's it for the video. I'm VBS Office, and I'll see you next time. Bye.